Alright guys, how's it going? This is the Crown Fiend today, and we're doing What If Deku Was Grimmjow, Part 3. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. As always, if you guys do, like, comment, subscribe, and without further delay, let's get into a quick little recap about what happened last time. So basically where we last left off, we just got done with the heroes versus villains, and Deku took out 3 at once. Bakugo surrendered, Ida got his leg snapped, badly, and Uraraka got punched straight in the face. Because this Deku Grimmjow, he's all for gender equality, as we all should be. Because, yeah, he just doesn't give a fuck. That's pretty much the best way to describe him at this point. And, yeah, so after that, they spent a few days off, and now it's time for the USJ attack. So, without further delay, let's get into it. So, where we pick off this time is, a few days have passed since the whole Heroes vs. Villain incident. Deku's getting looks from everybody in the whole class, but more or less, some people are coming around to him, and he really just doesn't really care too much about it. And yeah, now it's time for the Heroes versus, not Heroes versus Villain, but USJ attack. And they're on the bus. Deku sits all the way in the back, and he's just chilling. And his hero outfit in this, since I forgot to mention it, is, his basic all white clothing from Bleach when he fought Ichigo. So yeah, that's his hero attire. And as for the tattoos and markings on him, he doesn't have those yet. He's going to get those in this episode, so I hope you guys enjoy that. But yeah, anyway, we're at the USJ, and Deku's just chilling by himself. He's not really talking too much to anybody. He's just keeping to himself because he doesn't want to have to keep telling people this or that or anything like that. So he's honestly just not giving a fuck and sitting there. And so USJ gets there, and Deku's pretty much just ready. He's ready for anything they throw at him. They walk into there, and before Deku goes in, Aizawa pulls him off to the side and says, "Hey, I'm gonna need you to dial back your ferocity. I understand you're pissed off about everything that happened and all that, but seriously, just calm down a little bit. We'll get through this. Just take it easy, man." And Deku's just yeah, alright. And Aizawa says the best way to get them to stop looking at you in a villainous type of way is to honestly just focus and show them how heroic you can be with this rescue training, and you should be fine, my man. And Deku's yeah, I got you, sure, no problem. So with that being said, Deku just goes back down there with everybody else, and yeah, because Aizawa stopped him on the bus, of course, so he's got to go down off the bus to get into the USJ. And 13's giving her speech. She started without Deku or Aizawa. As soon as Deku and Aizawa get in there, pretty much the doors just slam shut behind them, and all the villains start coming out of the woodworks, and Deku just looks at Aizawa, and Aizawa says, "Help me out here." And Deku says, "Alright." And pretty much all the other students are told to stay back, as Deku's just walking forward with Aizawa. And 13's "Young man, you need to stay back." And Aizawa tells her that it's fine. He's going to be fighting with me. I trust him to watch my back. Unlike the rest of these students, they'd only cause more trouble to have him with them. So, I'll take all responsibility that comes with this, but I need him helping me. As Deku looks and he says, "Understood, Sensei." So, they just straight up rush and blitz at each other. Well, the villains. And basically, Aizawa isn't even able to keep up with Deku in the slightest. The Deku's going over there just beating the dog piss out of every single villain he can get his hands on. And Kurogiri, he does warp gate everybody around still, because there's no getting away from that. 13 gets her back blown out by Kurogiri, and yeah. So pretty much same stuff that's in the canon, except Deku's not scattered. He's just with Aizawa. And Aizawa's actually worried about all the students, especially since a lot of them are still like kind of not used to using their quirks. So yeah, he asked Deku to go around and rescue them. Like, don't engage in combat, just bring them back. As Deku's like, sure. So basically, Deku just blitzes around and secures all the students and brings them back, even the ones he doesn't like, and Baku just tells him, thanks, man. As Deku's just like, don't worry about it, and better you don't associate with me anymore. Alright? As Baku's just like, man, fuck that. I'm associating with you. As Deku's just like, thought so. So, you wanna help me kick some ass? As Baku's like, thought you wouldn't ask. So, basically, Baku's down there and he's just like throwing explosion after explosion while Deku's hitting them in the fucking face and the back. And for those of you wondering how Deku's able to use his spiritual pressure and all that, just know that quirks are evolved from Ryatsu in this, and from spiritual pressure, meaning that there's just no way for them to get fucked over completely just from sensing spiritual pressure or anything like that. Like, they can't sense it, but yeah. And if you remember, like, as long as you keep your spiritual pressure lowered enough, then yeah, and they can see all those hollow things and everything like that. So that's how that's explained, for those of you who were wondering and called bullshit on that. So yeah, just know that that's the reason why. So you can shut the fuck up in the comments. As anyway, Deku, he's about ready to just go all out and end this real quick. He's like, sorry everybody, but they're just like, what do you mean sorry? As he's just like, well, I'm about to blow a giant hole in this bitch, so and they're just like, oh hell. So Aizawa's about to get caught by Nomu, but Deku just blitzes over there and hits him with a fucking Sero. And the Sero not only just tears straight through Nomu, but it also tears through Shigaraki. Because, I'm sorry, but Kurogiri's not fast enough to warp gate them all out of there before a fucking Sero obliterates the place. So yeah, Shigaraki's dead, Nomu's disintegrated, and Kurogiri, he's pretty much almost dead. Without Shigaraki, there's no real reason for him to retreat, so yeah, he's pretty much just getting captured. But yeah, because Seros are like light-based attacks that move at the speed of light. And yeah, so basically there's no way any villain that gets hit with that can pretty much survive. So Deku clears out the USJ with a fucking Sero, and after that, all the villains that are left just surrender. Like, they have no fucking chance. Nomu was supposed to be their big gun, they all knew that, and he just got took out by some kid in training. So, oh yeah, they're just saying, fuck it, we surrender. As that ends, and All Might doesn't even have to make an appearance. Like, as soon as they get there and they get back, and everyone's just thanking Deku for everything that they did, and Ida, he's still in the hospital, so he knows nothing that would have happened. So yeah, it's not like All Might could have gotten there anyway. But yeah, that happens, and pretty much Ida's just on the phone with Uraraka as Uraraka's telling him what happened and how they were all saved. As you know, Ida's like, well, at least that's something good he did. I guess he's not all bad. Uraraka says, no, maybe we judged him a bit too harshly. As basically, Ida's like, maybe, but I'm still not asking him for forgiveness, especially since he broke my leg in a training exercise. I'll be out for the whole year. I'm gonna have to restart the year next year in the hero course. And Uraraka's like, oh, that's too bad, but maybe I can help tutor you. and help with your recovery. As Ida's like, yeah, that'd be nice. And Uraka asks, how come Recovery Girl can't just heal it and you be good as new? As Ida says, well, it's not like I wouldn't like for her to, but the way he broke it, if you heal it with Recovery Girl's quirk, there's no guarantee it'll grow back the right way, and I might have a limp for the rest of my life if we do it that way. So I'm kind of just going to have to wait out the whole year. As Urok's like, oh, that's pretty bad. But back in actual class, like, Deku, he's getting kind of ridiculed by all the teachers except Aizawa for what he did, and Aizawa just straight up tells them, y'all weren't there, y'all didn't know shit. A pro hero got hurt, fucking ass nearly killed, and you're blaming the kid who ended the whole situation with no casualties and only one pro hero being injured? You should be thanking him. This could have turned out way worse. We didn't have anybody that could have reached you guys. What if the students have gotten killed? He ended it before it could have got to that point. So how about you all shut up and show him some gratitude? He's a true hero. And Nezu's just like, I understand that, but he killed somebody. He killed an actual person in that attack. As Deku says, look, they were gonna kill us. It was kill or be killed. As Nezu's like, I understand that, but there are certain laws and regulations we have to abide by. I'm sorry, but you're expelled from UA. As Deku just looks at them like, what? You're expelling me? Are you fucking kidding me? And I know, I'm sorry, but you're expelled. It was either we expel you or you're being arrested. Either way, you wouldn't have been able to come back to the school. To spare you jail time, young man, we have to expel you. As Deku's just like, fuck it, fine. I'll take the expulsion. Not like I wanted to go to this shitty school anyway. So Deku pretty much just gets his stuff and packs it up, and Aizawa says, this is bullshit. I'm sorry. I should have taken the blame. And basically, Nezu comes in and says, I'm sorry. I didn't want this to be the case. I tried to plead your case. I really did. And Aizawa, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to be fired and put into forced retirement now. Because you dragged a student into a battle. This is the only way we can save face. It's not my decision to make anymore. It's the school board's. They don't want UA being looked down upon as something that puts students' lives in danger or is turning them into mass killers. So we have to save face and let you guys go. And Aizawa, I'm sorry, but you will never be able to be a hero again. Once again, I'm terribly sorry about this, but it isn't my decision to make. This came directly down from the board. I'm going to try to pull some strings where I can to see if I can't get you guys to get better deals somewhere or something like that. But at the time being, you can't continue like this anymore. I'm sorry. As Deku's about to just lose his cool, that's when he hears a voice, and she says, hey now, don't get all uppity now. Why don't you just come work for me as my sidekick? As Deku just looks and says, who are you? And she says, the name's Mirko. And Deku's like, oh, yeah, that's right, I fought with you. And she's like, yep, sure did. Anyway, I hear about your situation. Sure, you're not being able to be used as a hero student anymore, but that doesn't mean that you can't become a hero. Aizawa, there's nothing I can really do for you except offer you a job at my agency, being a desk worker. And Aizawa says, I'll take any job I can get at the moment, actually. And Deku's like, what will my job entail? She's like, oh, you're going to be my sidekick. And Nezu's just like, he hasn't passed any other hero courses. And she's like, that's not the only way to become a hero, you know. Sure, the kid needs to go to school and all, but at the same time, you can just pass him, right? And Nezu's like, I most certainly cannot just pass him. And Deku's like, wait a minute, there's an early graduation test, isn't there? Let me take that. And Nezu's like, I can't since you're not a student here anymore, But if you enroll in a different normal high school, I can speed up your graduation. Mirko can recommend you for the official hero licensing exam, which will allow you to become a full-fledged hero sidekick, and then you'll be able to work with Mirko. Deku says, alright, then let's do it. So basically, Deku enrolls in just some plain Jane high school. Nezu recommends him for the exam, and since it's coming from UA as a recommendation for this kid, the high school takes it. Deku passes his exam with flying colors, and he's allowed to graduate right then and there, on the spot, no questions asked. And Mirko then takes him with his diploma and registers him for the hero exam. And once again, Deku passes it. He has all the qualifications to be a hero. He's just a little ruthless at times, but he made sure to hide that side of him during the exam so he wouldn't get axed. And people know he's killed in his past, but that's in the past, and they're choosing to look past it since Mirko herself has most probably killed some people. And Aizawa definitely probably did in the same time, since he's a nighttime hero. So, honestly, they're looking past that because situation called for extreme measures. It was a hopeless situation. So, the agency is a lot more, forgiving about that than the actual school boards are. Just because it's a school and they can't afford to not save face. So, Mirko formally accepts Deku as her sidekick. So, Deku is now Mirko's fully fledged sidekick, as he starts working closer and closer with Mirko, and he actually starts getting a feeling that Nell's watching him. And sure enough, he's right. As Nell comes down there and says, "Hey, what you doing? Graduate so soon? It's been so little time though." As basically Deku's just like, well, yeah, I was forced to go to another school. I took an early graduation exam, and now I took the hero licensing exam. I'm a sidekick for Mirko. And she's like, "Oh, that's great. My second student should be able to meet you now." As Deku's just like, "Yeah, who is your second student?" She says, "It's this girl. She goes by the name Burnin. And she's kind of fiery. Kind of like you, kid. You guys should get along great." And for those of you who are wondering who the ship was, it is Deku X Burnin. So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoy that. But, anyways, so Deku gets introduced to Burnin after he gets done with work with Mirko for the day. And basically, they're just sitting down. They're eating at a restaurant with Nell. And Nell's just telling them about their time together. Basically, Deku learns about Nell's time with Burnin, and Burnin learns about Deku's time with Nell. As Burnin says, "Hey, why don't you come over to my place tonight?" As Deku's like, "Sure, I got nothing better to do." And he just texts his parents that because they do know how young this kid is, but at the same time, he's working like an adult, so he really just is considered like an adult in their eyes. So, yeah, Deku heads over to Burnin's place, and Burnin and him start flirting a little bit. Nell can pick that up, but she doesn't give a fuck. She encourages it and starts teasing the both of them, as they will yell at Nell to shut up. So all of them are watching a movie. Nell's passed out on the couch. Deku's about to pass out, but Burnin just says, you don't have to sleep on the floor. You can share the bed with me. As Deku's like, "Oh, moving that fast now, are we?" As Burnin says, "What? No. Don't get any weird ideas like that, Panther Boy." As Deku's just like, "Yeah, alright." She's like, "Oh yeah, since you're a sidekick, what is your hero name?" As Deku's just like, "Oh, that. Well, for that, it's actually called Hollow Panther." And she's like, "Ooh, Hollow Panther. Sounds kind of tough." As Deku just says, "Yeah, well, you'll see why if we ever have to go that far." As basically, she's just like, "I look forward to it." As Deku says, "I don't. It's not that pretty whenever I go into that state." And she's like, yeah, well, you're using spiritual pressure. I'm using spiritual pressure. It kind of works out. And basically, her and Deku just keep hitting it off as they go to the bed and they just both pass out. As Deku wakes up, he notices Burnin's like cuddled all up close to him, his arms wrapped around her. He's just like, don't get any funny ideas, my ass. So, yeah, he's pretty much just chilling there. And during UA, they're getting ready for their whole sports festival thing. As that goes on, Deku just goes there to watch it with Mirko, as he's just really watching to see what happens. And then he notices this girl. She has snow white hair, but she's using spiritual pressure. And she's a lot stronger than everybody else in the whole tournament. And that girl's Reiko. As Nell says, oh, that's that little Soul Reaper girl. As Deku's like, Soul Reaper? And even Burnin's kind of confused, like, a Soul Reaper? Isn't that what you are, Nell? And Nell says, no, I'm an Espada. That is a Soul Reaper. Well, a substitute one at that. I wonder who her master is. The Soul Reapers have been very quiet lately. I hope they don't want to cause trouble. But Reiko senses Deku and Nell and looks right up at them and scowls at them, as Deku just scowls right back at her, and he's just like, the fuck is she looking at? And Burnin makes the joke, maybe she likes you. And Nell says, not with that face, she doesn't. And Burnin's just like, wait a minute, that's a look of disgust. Have you met this girl before? Deku says, not even a little. And basically, that's when Bakugo comes up there, and he's just like, hey man, what's up? As pretty much the time that this happens, they're in the fucking battles, and Reiko's just like swooping it. As everything's going on, and Bakugo and Deku catching up, as Bakugo says, well, I'm glad you got to make the best of your situation. It sucks what they did to you, man. As Burnin and Nell are having the first time hearing all the details, and Burnin's just like, what? That's unacceptable. They did that just to save face? As Nezu's there, and he's just like, oh, you made the seating. As Deku's like, yeah, I just came here to watch my friend. As Mirko says, and I'm scouting. And Burnin says, I'm just here on my day off. As pretty much Nezu's like, that's fine, hope you guys enjoy. As Deku asks Nezu to hold up, as Nezu's like, yes, as Deku asks him, who is that girl with the white hair? As basically Nezu says, oh, that's Reiko. She got into class 1B, but I feel like she's holding back, as Deku says, oh, she's definitely holding back. And that's when basically something happens at the sports festival. The sky tears open, and it's a hollow. As Deku just looks and he's just like, the fuck is that? And Mirko just says, don't just stand there, go into action. As Nell's just like, yeah, you need to go into action now. That's a hollow. It's going to kill people. And basically, Deku's just like, alright, got it. As he just, before he can even get there though, Reiko already called on her Zanpakuto toe and sliced it straight in half. And just so you guys know, it's a Menos Grande. And Deku's just awestruck. She took it down with one swipe of the sword. As she looks straight at Deku, who is coming down there, as she just says, what took you so long, Hollow? As Deku's just like, what's going on here? As she lunges right at Deku with her Zanpakuto toe, ready to strike him. Deku calls for Pantera. As Pantera arrives, he basically just pulled it out of thin air because, yeah. And he honestly just clashes swords with her, and it's a sword battle for a little bit, as Reiko's just going on and on about how her master said she has to eliminate all the Espadas to become a full-fledged Soul Reaper, and she will do just that. As basically Deku's asking, oh yeah, and who's this master of yours? whoever they are, they're pretty strong for you to be this powerful and skilled in swordsmanship. As she says, Lord Eisen would never lead me astray. He's the one who has shown me the truth. You Espadas, Hollows, whatever you call yourselves, you're a plague on this world in need to be beaten. And basically, Deku's heard enough of this, and he's just like, oh, you think so, huh? As basically, Reiko just says, it looks like I'll have to go a little bit further. As she takes her sword, holds it out, and says, Bankai. As her sword changes into a spear. And it's a spear that has 3 blades at the end, like 2 small ones and a very long one. And then it has 1 short, very sharp blade at the end. As Deku's just like, oh shit, a spear user. As he's like, fine then. Resurrection. As he goes into his panther state that Grimmjow has. As Deku's just right there waiting, as she marches straight at him, as Deku just dodges easily. The spear might be good against the sword, but against someone with superior speed and agility, it's not going to do too great. As he basically shoots out one of those little explosives from his elbow and hits the ground and blows up. And the whole ground is starting to collapse in as Reiko jumps up into the air. And this time Nell gets in the way and she says, whoa kids, this is not the appropriate force you need to be going in. As basically Deku says, don't get in the way. She's here to kill all Hollows and Espadas, not mattering if they're good or evil or whatnot. As basically Nell just says, well, you just earned your number then, Espada. As Deku's like, what do you mean? She's like, you finally awoken your resurrection, out of pure rage, no less. But don't think that you'll be able to hold this for very long. You just awakened this power, and it looks like she just mastered Bankai. You're not going to win this if it turns into a battle of endurance. As Deku says, then stop wasting my time and get out of my way. As he just blitzes, but Nell catches him and says, don't test me, boy. I'm still a lot stronger than you. As Ibarra, well, not Ibarra, but Reiko just charges right towards Deku. As Deku says, out of the way, Nell. Now. As Nell just moves with flash step, Deku and her right out of the way. And basically, Reiko just says, Lord Eisen will not be pleased with me if I let you two escape. And that's when Burnin just straight up kicks her square in the fucking face. As she just says, the fuck's your problem, bitch? And Reiko just looks right at Burnin and says, who the fuck are you? As Burnin introduces herself and just says, I'm someone who is trained by Nell. I'm not Hollow or Espada. As basically, Reiko says, then you're a traitor to humanity. All their kind wants is destruction. As Deku says, Eisen. Wait a minute, Eisen worked with Espadas back in the day, and now he's telling you to go and kill them all? It sounds like you're just doing his cleanup work to me. And that's when Reiko loses all sense of control and rationality, as she just says, you dare insult Lord Eisen. I'll kill you all. As her spiritual pressure starts rising more and more, and it's actually starting to affect people now. Like, normally this wouldn't happen, but with this high level of pressure, basically Nell says, I'm gonna have to move her. She grabs Reiko by the head and just flash steps with her right to Wako Mundo. As Deku follows closely behind, knowing that he'll have the advantage in Wako Mundo, since his powers are amplified there. So, when he gets to Wako Mundo, it's just him, Nell, and Reiko. But that doesn't happen very often. for a Soul Reaper to come to Waco Mundo, and then the butterfly gate opens, and out steps a man with long brown hair, an eye patch, and a sword with a smug look on his face, and says, My, the last to Espada right before my eyes. How about this? I'll spare you if you get on your knees and bow to me. Huh, Neliel, Grimmjow? And Deku just yells at him instinctively, I'll never bow to you again, you fucking bastard. As basically, he's just like, wait a minute. How did I know that? Why did that come out of my mouth? And basically, he just looks back, and Nell says, because that's Aizen. And that's where I'm leaving it off. I hope you guys enjoy. As always, if you guys do, like, comment, subscribe. I've been the Crown Fiend. Catch you guys again next time. Peace.